we are going to be talking about a few of the accessibility tools that you can use for Primo or your library website. And this is really just the beginning of the conversation to introduce you to some of these tools, and hopefully we will come up with some more specific projects that we would like to do as a group, or take a look at things and fix them. So today I have 4 or 5. We'll see how many we get through. And I've just randomly chosen library websites to use them on so you can get an idea. So we'll go ahead and get started. So the first one is called Site Improve Accessibility Checker, and this is a Chrome extension, and you just click on it. It's this blue one right here for any site, and this additional pop-up window comes up showing you where the issues are, and it explains it, and then it also you can look at the code and see like how it would be fixed, and where I'm trying to remember where the so it says occurrences of the issue. Yes, I know. I want to see which ones they are. Where? Sorry, there's a way it highlights the thing, and maybe I'm just missing it. Okay, so here's one. I was like, it is on here. So and this one is not even the fault of the library, because this is part of the main site, but it says that the size is not large enough to be tapped on, and so it shows right here. It highlights on the page up here in this nice bright pink, and it goes through all of the different occurrences. So not the library's fault on that one. Page zoom is restricted. So Site Improve maybe it wasn't the best one to start with, because it is quite in depth, which is nice. This one says code links are not clearly identifiable. So it does give, where's the other one? Here it is. And then it shows you how you can change it so that when you hover, like it's saying add a second visual identifier. So just adding the underline is not quite enough to make it clearly identifiable. Let's go back. Another one. So text not included in an ARIA landmark. So this will affect page readers, and it shows, you know, like all these different places where the structure of the site is not functioning correctly. So that's the first one. And if we go into Primo, we can do Primo as well. And this is what it looks like. Oop, right off of it. There we go. So it's checking, and so we're missing text alternative on You're gonna highlight. Uh, the QR. Size and spacing. So these are quite advanced, but since this can definitely be a little overwhelming, let me show you some of the other ones. So here we've got one called Wave, and I really like this one because when you click on the extension, it actually pops up and interacts with the page and tells you what's going on. It'll tell you exactly what the errors are. So it says missing image, missing alternative text. We've got an empty heading. So it's coding each and every one of these things. Low contrast is one that is pretty easily fixed with CSS. So that's kind of a great one to see because you're like, okay, we can fix that. Long alternative text, well, that's probably not long alternative text because the whole thing is necessary, maybe. Very small text, you know, like you can say, well, these aren't necessary to the function of the page. What's nice is that it also identifies what you're doing well. And, you know, that can be a good selling point when you're like, okay, well, if this is working well, how did we do that? I also like that it points out structure. And so you can check to make sure that your heading levels are appropriately applying across your page. This, of course, is on a website. But if we go into Primo, and we click on Wave again, only one error. It is showing some alerts. Missing alternative text, low contrast. So again, that's one that, you know, we can fix pretty quickly. Redundant links, not surprising there. But yeah, so I really like Wave because it prioritizes where the issues are. You can also go in and it will tell you in using a screen reader what order everything is going to be read in. So you can find where they are, because I'm not even seeing. Oh, they're like hidden up here somewhere. So we've got the banner. New search, QR, and it tells you what is going to be read out. So as the screen reader goes through, it'll say link, skip to main menu, link, skip to search. So then you're like, oh, link, header, logo, alt. That clearly needs to be fixed. As you go down here, you can see how a screen reader will read out the item record, which is kind of cool, and maybe that's something we can look into. So, yeah, and then you can break down and it shows you where the banner is. It shows you what is in header 1, what's in header 2. Goes all the way down, so you can kind of see where you might have issues. You've got the navigation. Wave also has a great tutorial on navigating a page with all of its labels on it. So, because this looks crazy. You can also, with Wave, take all of the styles off and just look at your HTML, so that you can kind of take out some of the visual clutter if you need to. And you've got the contrast tools that you can see, like, okay, where's the contrast issue? Here's the contrast issue. And it shows you, oh, and it followed the link, why it's a contrast issue. So then you can say, okay, well, if I do this and just darken it, it now passes. Fails, passes. Or if I lighten the background. So yeah, I really like Wave. Again, it offers a lot of detail. Okay, moving on. So the other one is, so this is Link Checker, which is not exactly accessibility, but it's one that I used a lot when I was dealing with LibGuides, because it tells you right away if you have broken links or links that maybe it doesn't understand, like no response. And so it goes here, and I don't know why it said no response, but you're like, okay, well, at least I can check that. And we're not, we can, so here's so it's showing that this is coded as a link, but is not going anywhere or doing anything. Where's the next one? It's hidden. There's a hidden one somewhere. So I love this one, especially for research guides, when a librarian would ask me, well, what do I need to update? Okay, well, you can start right here. Great job, Marianne. She has no dead links. So it's just a fantastic tool. At first place to start. You can then, for example, go to colorblind one. Another great place to start for quick fixes. So if someone is blue colorblind, what does this page look like? If they have monochromacy, what does it look like? Come on, apply. Should be applying. Oh, maybe because link checker is still running. We'll load a different page. There we go. Why are you not running? Nope. It's clearly if someone was blue colorblind. Okay, well, this one also, which isn't working for some reason. So Totally for Chrome is another great one, but I, for some reason, can't seem to get it to work on any of our, like, it doesn't want to start. What other ones did I do? This one allows you to select the rule set. So this is great if like you're doing a test for a vendor platform and you have a contract with them that designates that they will match a certain accessibility norm, you can then select that level, and it scans the page and it tells you, and you're able to highlight elements. It tells you the level of compliance issue. Um, so only 4, they're all serious, but it also, oh, that's a pay thing. Too bad. But you could probably Google how to remediate blah, 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 blah. That way you can highlight one thing at a time. Minimum color contrast ratios. So there's another one. It shows you, you know, what's included. Here's the actual code. It gives you that, so then you can go in to your site code and fix it. This would be LibGuide CSS, which isn't that hard to fix. There it is. You can also pick a different one. And we can see at the higher level of the AAA, we've got more additional serious issues. So my hope is to basically maybe use Abby's usability group at Whatcom and the usability group at Shoreline that Lauren works with, and as a group identify some of our most common accessibility issues, and then create like some test views of things, and possibly then have students check them, and then be able to share out, okay, here's the ways to fix this that are simple. But yeah, there's a lot of tools out there. Your college may also subscribe to some accessibility tools. Canvas has some that are built in, and depending on which ones you have, you may be able to ask IT to integrate those into the library website or do testing on the library website with them. Some of them are specific only to Canvas. So some of these extensions work on other browsers. If you go into like the Firefox extension store or whatever it is, you can look up, these are some of the bigger well-known ones. And I was thinking about starting a page on our website with accessibility tools and directions to them, so that everyone could have the list basically. So but we can kind of put them together now. So there's you can at least add them to the chat so it's in the record. Spell it right too. So here's web accessibility extension. I'll throw it in the chat. And then there's Wave. There's the Wave one. Site Improve, that's what it's called. Yeah, so you can see when you go to their pages, it you can download the other ones. Color, okay, totally. We could look that one up. So this one does it have a page? That's not it. I'll just put the link for the Chrome one, but this is the one that I can't seem to get to work. Maybe I need to sign up. Oh, well, I'm seeing this one says no added value if you're already using Wave for site accessibility. What were the others? Colorblindly, link checker. That's the other one that is so fantastic to have. And I like link checker because it's fast, and it's very low profile. I actually tested several of them when I was in charge of LibGuides, and I just found this one to be one of the easiest ones to use. So there's that one. But yeah, so I'm hoping to really start building out some kind of an accessibility guide. And, you know, starting with some of the basic definitions of all of the acronyms that we see, also integrating some of the state laws that we have about accessibility. One of the things that has recently started with the IT Security Council, they've got a fabulous person working at Clark College who has created a control document around security and accessibility, and several colleges have already begun the audit process, and I can already tell that our library websites, as well as how we use user data and connect with CTC Link, are going to be impacted. But whether or not our IT departments realize it or know how to ask the libraries about, you know, like, hey, how are you using this, or what are you doing, is questionable. So I'm also kind of trying to work on that. But since accessibility was part of that document in addition to the security, I kind of was like, well, it's probably past time to have some accessibility standards and tools that, you know, good directions on how to apply this. The other thing is there are some fantastic accessibility websites, and of course I have this specifically for libraries, and they've tested content provider platforms, and I can't remember what it's called right now. We'll see if this finds it. It's not the Library Accessibility Alliance. Very obvious. So this is a nonprofit organization that takes recommendations of different vendors to evaluate, and then you can see when the most recent evaluation was done, and whether or not the vendor has responded. So this is great because I there's been conversation of like, oh, we need to test this if we're going to subscribe to it. No, you don't, because somebody else has already tested it. We don't need to spend that additional time. If we have the information about the accessibility of our platforms from such a verified resource, like, oh, well, this one hasn't been done in quite a few years. Well, it's Echo, so of course it hasn't. Then maybe you feel very strongly that you need to do it for your own college. But, like Gale Power Search was literally done last month. Hein Online last May. So this is a really great resource to not do extra work, but be able to get answers if your accommodations office or student services needs information. And then you can focus on your own library website if you're managing it through LibGuides. And then we can all work together to kind of look at Primo and see if there are standard practices that we can put into place to improve everybody's accessibility. So, yeah, I don't know. It's such an early part of this group doing this kind of work, but I think that we will be called on to do it more often, and that it is a place where our collective time will save a lot of individual time if we can coordinate it. So I'd love any like feedback or questions, ideas of, like what else would be helpful to have on an accessibility site. It will be, built out in sections. LLC is very interested in doing some accessibility training. And so I am talking to Michael Brown at the state board about that, because the state board has accessibility employees who can, teach us how to use screen readers to do the testing, or, we can say, hey, we would really like you to check out this Primo page with a screen reader, like, can we get that onto your list? So it is part of the partnership with the state that we are hoping to develop more. But I also think it's good work that we could be doing, and that we could be providing professional development for each other by working on together in the consortium. And I think it'll bring in our colleges that aren't Alma Primo. So I'm eager to like get this into our rotation of topics for open calls. Yeah, so that's where I'm at.
This is such good work, Carly. I'm so glad we hired you, man.
Well, thank you. Yeah,
Awesome.
I was first, I worked when I was at Gonzaga with my practicum. They had contracted with Ally to work in their Blackboard. And so there was a lot of work that we did to make sure that alternative text was in all the LibGuides, as well as all the PDF being OCR friendly. And that's work that I've really fallen down on. But it's one of the reasons why I try to do links to Google Docs as opposed to file links on LibGuides, because file links are just way more difficult for accessibility. So yeah, but I'm excited about this. I think it's needed, and it's, there's a lot out there It's really hard to wade through if you're brand new to all of the acronyms. And I'm not brand new, and I still I'm like, wait, what applies to what, and which is the vendor side, and which, because a VPAT is a report from the vendor on how they're complying with the WCAGs. But if you don't realize how those two interact, it's not much use to have a VPAT. And some vendors will just give a VPAT and it's basically crap. It's not really addressing issues. It just says meets. And you're like, no, nobody's website will have a perfect VPAT. That, like, number one red flag, if you're looking at a VPAT and it says that it meets all of the standards, it doesn't. It literally, there's no way. They need to be aware of where there are issues, and that's okay. And then they need to have a plan for how they're going to address those. One of the biggest things that the most recent licensing agreements for library content has started to include is, if your platform is not accessible, the contract needs to allow for the library to do whatever is necessary to provide the content in an accessible format. So if that means printing out an entire ebook so that someone can have it in large print because it is only available as an unzoomable PDF or something like that. If that means converting things to be able to be screen read. Yeah, NVDA is a free Windows native screen reader, or it's the visual disability. Help me out. We'll look it up. Yes, so there's this one, and then there's the Windows native one, and I have only ever, I usually only have Windows computers at work, and since it's the first time I'm working remotely, I haven't downloaded the Windows native one. I've tried to use NVDA with varying success, but this is one of those places where the state has people who do this work all the time. So they don't have to learn how to use the tool to test the tool on our platforms. We just have to ask them to test it on our platforms. So yeah, but if your site is really, really not set up yet, I'm sure it'd be excruciating to try and use one of these tools. So, but yeah, putting in a section about these, I'm gonna just add this to my tabs that are open so that, yeah, okay, narrator. That is what it's called. Yeah, so putting together the free tools, the tools that are, in various browsers. I tend to be a Chrome only person, and I need to expand my horizons to provide that support. So yeah, and I've noticed that there are several presentations about accessibility at Eluna, or at least kind of related to it. So I'm hoping to see where else some of that work is happening. A lot of the consortiums that I deal, that I rely on for general Alma Primo documentation are not necessarily the leaders in accessibility work. So yeah, I'm looking to find more resources. The Library Accessibility Project Alliance was a huge find. I had not heard of it before ERNL back in March. So it's great because, I mean, if we were to try and do the work to evaluate all of these vendors, we'd never get through it. So yeah, sorry, I talked really fast and I showed you a lot of stuff very, very briefly. But if you have folks at your colleges that are doing accessibility work that you think would be willing to kind of help with library projects, so whether they're in the library or not, I'd love to start connecting with them. I'm going to start adding accessibility to our rotating topics. Oh, cool. So Shoreline has some LibGuides on privacy and VPATs. And there are some out there. European libraries do a little bit better on like having like privacy and data security information available for students. But I think a lot of times it's overly complicated and kind of like super hidden. And I think data security and privacy need to just be so much more part of our everyday practices as we move forward in the era of generative AI. Because now, since those AI companies can scrape so much more information that people may not realize is available. Yeah, but that's a whole different conversation. I'm very excited about the work that the IT Security Council is doing, because I think it gives us a framework to really ask for support at the state level, for tools that we couldn't afford otherwise, that would give us more control over patron data. Yeah, and some states have better laws than others, and those library consortiums in those states have some resources, but unfortunately, in the states, we're still kind of lagging behind as far as communicating about those issues, especially with students. So I'm strategically kind of looking at that for some future topics. I'm certainly not educated myself enough to do trainings yet, but if I can introduce some tools and folks get interested, then we can all work together. Yeah, anything else? I will be at the LLC meeting in Yakima on Thursday and Friday, so I'm leaving tomorrow afternoon since it's a long enough drive into a sunset that I don't want to be going too late. So available, but not a lot of time to work on things. And then on Sunday, I leave for Eluna, and I will be in developer days all day Monday and Tuesday, and will likely pass out from exhaustion because I have a feeling it's going to be very intense. And then annual meeting is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning, and flying back Friday night. So if you've got any like super pressing support issues, I will be on email all the time. But just know that if you're looking to book some time with me or have something less kind of immediate, May 20th and on is my window. Next week, Bridget will be doing the LibKey onboarding training for cohort 3 on Tuesday and Thursday. So if you haven't gotten those emails from her to invite you to those, please let me know. I was just told this morning that we've got the Spokane publishing profiles and norm rules working. So you should get, oh, thanks, Isaac. I'm gonna grab all of that from the chat. So you should be getting the emails, Melinda, soon. And yesterday we had a great conversation about the open URL and like link out tools and how LibKey kind of integrates with those. And so I am digging into those a little bit more and hope that when I get back, we can have a follow-up around that. Yeah, Courtney said she'd send you the invite today. It doesn't really matter because I already have your information. We were just waiting for the publishing profiles to function. So it should actually function now in those test views that I set up for you, which is awesome. And then if I'll just shoot Bridget an email too to make sure that she sends you the training invites for next week. So yeah, I want to prioritize this. I know I'm going to come back from Eluna with like a bunch of other ideas. So I'm glad we've got a large group today so you guys can be like, let's do accessibility, Carly. Don't get sidetracked. And yeah, send me stuff that you know about or questions that you have or your own campus resources. Because like I said, LLC is interested in creating some collective knowledge around this topic. And the Whack to Click website seemed like a good place for that to go. So yeah, I'm excited for this. And I'm very excited to connect with Alma Primo folks next week and share out when I get back. So yeah, I'll stick around for a second if anyone wants to add anything. And otherwise, I will see you guys in like a week and a half. So take care, enjoy the improving weather, and don't forget the allergy meds. Okay. And I'll stop recording.